the 10 biggest questions that the Dodgers need to answer before the postseason. And we'll start with number 1. We talked about it a lot. When are they going to move off Michael Conforto? What's going to be the plan for him? We've already talked about that a lot throughout this show, but he has struggled. Bad offense, bad defense. He doesn't have positional versatility. You can't use him off the bench as a pinch runner. You can't use him as a pinch hitter because he hasn't been good in those situations. So when will they move off of Michael Conforto? Is it going to be next week? Is it going to be the week after that? Will they just demote him to the bench, or will they DFA him? So there's questions about Michael Conforto. I mean, is it a sunk cost fallacy thing? I don't think it is as much when you look at the fact that this is a $400 million roster. This team's already paying so much for this group that I think it's more of no. They are hoping and praying and begging for him to be the hitter that he was in the second half last year. And if he finds that, they'll say, well, he was hot for the last month of the season into the postseason. He helped us win another title, and that's all that matters. They do not care about his stats, right? It's not like he's due for arbitration. They're going to have to pay more or less for him, right? It's not like they're going to consider re-signing him or anything like that. It's not like they've already signed him to a big multi-year deal, so they care about just the totality of his numbers while he's with them. No, they want him specifically to be a hot left-handed bat. And at some point, even though they might still think there's a chance that he turns it around, I think at this point, the numbers have been so down. And look, it's funny because he had his best series against the Padres. He had 2 big games where his hits led to big runs. So we'll see. I mean, if he has another big series against the Padres, maybe that buys him more time that he could actually get hot and help this team in a lot of ways. That's going to be the big question. But I do think it's not about the money. I really don't. I mean, like I said, they owe him like $4 million. To this, that's like a parking ticket to us, right? It's like nothing. I mean, they don't owe him very much money at all, right? I mean, by their standards. But there is that thing. It's like kind of like when your parents like bought you something, right? And you're trying to convince them to buy you like a toy or something. And then they're like, oh, are you going to play with it? You're going to play with it, right? Oh, and then they buy you the toy and you don't play with it. And they're kind of mad because you talked to them. They're like, oh, go play with that toy that you needed. And so you kind of need to do it, right? I mean, maybe there's a little bit of that, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. Second big question we've already talked about a lot, the right field situation. I've planted my flag. I think Andy Pages should be the permanent starting right fielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yes, it was the Rockies, but still gets his first home run on the road since April 23rd. He's been in the entire body of work of his season an above average bat. I think has Gold Glove potential. Mookie Betts has already invested so much time and effort playing shortstop. He has lost his step as far as how fast he is. The arm, I think, plays up more at short than it might even play it up at right these days. And also, too, the options for Mookie Betts. Tommy Edman was the shortstop in the postseason last year, and he didn't grade out that great. I'd be okay with that, but I think that Tommy Edman could help this team more being a center fielder than a shortstop. Because if Mookie Betts was going to center field, which is a more valuable defensive position, then maybe I think you would consider it. But he would go to right. Tommy Edman's either center field or shortstop or third base if Max Muncy has any issues returning. So that's the big question they need to answer. What are they going to do with the right field? So it's not just moving off Conforto. It's, are you going to move off Conforto, which opens up left, which allows Andy Pages to go to right, and it allows Teo to go to left. So you have to open up left for Conforto when Conforto leaves, and that's going to be the big question. I mean, Conforto updating the LinkedIn, doing whatever he's going to do, right? And then he's gone or in any way, and that opens that up. So that's a big one. So like I said, my dream outfield right now, Teo in left, Edman in center, and you got Pages in right. Then the other one no one's talking about, third biggest question, the second base situation. What happens at second base? Because Hyeseong Kim, he's been out. He's going to be back soon. But before he was sent to the IL with that shoulder issue, he was struggling. I mean, he had a 40.7% strikeout rate in 21 games in July, was hitting 193. He also struck out in 9 of his last 13 plate appearances. So either he was injured or teams have adjusted to him. So now the move is to get healthy and adjust back. So I think ideally you lose a left-handed bat in Conforto, but you could pick one up in Hyeseong Kim if he rounds into form, the offense picks up, and he's your everyday second baseman batting from the left side. And also, he's a dynamic runner. And I talked to Miguel Rojas, and Rojas told me he's already a Gold Glove caliber second baseman. So a Gold Glove caliber second baseman, Mookie Betts an above average shortstop, Freddie having a really good year at first defensively, Pages above average right fielder, Edman above average center fielder, and then Teo hurts you less and left and doesn't right. And then Max Muncy, we'll see how he looks when he comes back. But hey, if he rakes like he has been, since you put on those glasses, he more than makes up for it. And then the Dodgers defense improves in a lot of different ways. The other big question, number 4, is the one we talked about. Where will Tommy Edman play when he comes back? Will that be center? And will the ankle allow him to play center? So really the question is, can Tommy Edman's ankle get healthy enough to where it won't limit his mobility to the point where you can play him in center field and not say, oh, we kind of have to have him on the field because we want his bat and that switch hitting ability and how clutch he was in the postseason for this team last year, but we got to have him at second, because if you have him at second, that means you put Kim to the bench, right? And then for your center field, I mean, Andy Paz probably takes over, and then you probably just kind of have a different configuration. The other thing, too, is Tommy Edman's bat, it has been down. No one really talks about it, but everyone made this big sting about Chris Taylor's numbers. Tommy Edman has basically put up Chris Taylor numbers this year. Tommy Edman on the year hitting 228 with 12 home runs and 87 WRC plus. He started 56 games at second base, 14 in center field, and 11 games at third base. But since he came back from that first ankle injury on May 18th, he only started twice in the outfield because of the ankle. So that's a big question. Is the ankle good enough to have him in center field? I think I'm going to ask Dave that tomorrow. And since he returned, he hitting just 214 with a 67 weighted runs created plus in 56 games. So no one's talking about this, but they extended Tommy Edman, this big deal. And I mean, you talk about Michael Conforto, he's pretty much putting up Michael Conforto-ish numbers since he came back, even worse during certain stretches. So I think the question for Edman is he healthy? Can he get healthy? And how does that impact where you play him on the field? And how does that impact his bat? So he's a major X factor. I haven't made my X factor list yet, but he's a huge X factor down the stretch for the Dodgers because we know what he looks like when he's right. I mean, he's an NLCS MVP. So that's the big one. Some other questions here. Who will be the Dodgers' postseason position players? So we're going to bang through this one super quick. We'll do a much more in-depth version of this as we get closer. But that's a huge question. Who's going to be on the postseason roster? And on the position player side, I'm confident that this will be the Dodgers postseason roster for the position players. Ready? Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Smith, Teo, Muncy, Pages, Edman, Kim, Rushing, Rojas, Kiké, Alex Call. I think those will be the 13 position players. Yes, there's some injury concerns with Max Muncy, even Tommy Edman a little bit, even Hyeseong Kim with how he performs and how he looks. But I think right now, barring injuries to those guys, I think that is the 13 position players. Other big question, number 8, who will fill out the Dodgers rotation and how are their bullpen shape out? But first, the rotation. I've said it since the beginning of the year. If Shohei Ohtani pitches like an ace, I would go with him in game 1. One, he's the home team, so it's easier to start off pitching because you got your routine, you pitch, and then you hit leadoff. Versus on the road where you lead off and you take an at bat, who knows? Maybe you hit a triple and run. Maybe you are a part of a long inning, right? There's all kinds of factors that would impact how you warm up. Versus if you start him on the road, you would have to bat first and then pitch. So I like that first and foremost. Also, too, get the best version of Shohei. Have him go 5 or 6 innings. Dominate. I'm not looking at last night's start. 6 of those 9 hits were soft contact. Didn't have the fastball. When he has his four-seam fastball, he's elite. He's dominant. And then he can focus on raking for the rest of the way. And then, what do? You use him in the clincher. He will be your closer in a clinching situation because you won't have to worry about him pitching again. And then you won't have to worry about the Ohtani rule because he goes out there, he finishes the job. You don't have to worry about getting him in there. Now, if he goes there and blows it, that's tough, right? But the truth is, in a clinching situation, you got to feel good about Shohei. And Mark Pryor was on Dan Patrick's show a couple of days ago, and he talked about the possibility of Shohei Ohtani getting the final out in a clinching situation.
It's a good question, very fair question, and it's been discussed, and it's really understanding kind of the rules of him coming in as a reliever, and knowing that because of the rule, the way it's set up right now as a starter, he can come out of the game and still maintain as a DH, but he comes in as a reliever. You got to find that line of where hopefully the game ends, because you can't put him in the 6th and then take him out as a pitcher in the 7th and keep him in as a DH. So it would have to be a situation where it was probably, we think the game's over and he's closing, or be okay with him not hitting anymore. So that would be really the only scenario. Can I see it? Absolutely. But it would probably be closer to the back end when the game's, kind of on the line, and it would be over after he's done.
So just imagine that. Like I said, this is my plan. Shohei Ohtani starts game 1. He goes 5 innings. He dominates. The Dodgers win. He rakes for the rest of that series. Hits 2, 3, 4 home runs. Leads the Dodgers offense. And then when you need that final out in that clinching situation, you bring Shohei Ohtani out. He closes the game for you. I think he'll get at least 1, possibly 2 saves for the Dodgers in the postseason. I've said it the entire year, and I'll continue to double down that I think that has been the plan, because he's got the biggest stuff. He's throwing 101. He's got the sweeper. He's got the mix. And then I think, too, it's important to get that big start out of the way, focus on the hitting, close things out, and you get that electric moment that could go down as one of the most special, spectacular moments like we saw in the WBC when he was Team Japan versus Mike Trout. Get that final out, showing that emotion. Shohei said that was the best moment of his life, so I think this will top that, hopefully, if he does it for the Dodgers. Okay, next big question, 9, the bullpen. So you look at the bullpen, right? We know there were starters, right? So the Dodgers have 14 pitchers. Shohei doesn't count against the 13, so it's like 14. It's found money. But after that, who are the 13? Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Kershaw, those are locks. Trinan, Vesia, Scott, Kopech, Yates, Bonda, Brock Stewart. That takes you to 12. And then 13, Emmett Sheehan, explosive stuff. You use him in short burst. Comes in after Ohtani 2 potentially. Then you're at 13. So the last spot is the big question they need to answer. Ben Kasparius, Justin Robleski, Edgardo Henriquez throws 103. Can you leave a guy that throws 103 off your postseason bullpen? I don't know. Jack Dreyer. Dave Roberts told me Bobby Miller could be an option. Roki Sasaki, if he pitches well. Does Brusdar Graterol come back? It's unlikely, but that is the big question they need to answer. Who is that last pitcher on the postseason roster? I think Ben Kasparius, with the experience, he can throw 99. Jack Dreyer has been really good for this team, but he's pitched a lot. Does that impact them because he's a lefty and you have Bonda, Yates, and Vesia? Bobby Miller's a long shot. Roki Sasaki's a long shot. Brusdar Graterol is the longest shot. I think Robleski also doesn't make it. I think they probably go with Ben Kasparius in that situation. And the last big a couple more actually. How will Mookie Betts' back continue to trend? I mean, he's looked really good ever since the ovation. If he continues to hit, he's back to hitting like an all-star. That really raised the ceiling of this offense. 2+ hits in 7 of his last 14 games. He looks more comfortable. He looks like the approach is more like the Mookie we've seen throughout his career. Then there's also the Max Muncy factor. This might be the biggest question for the Dodgers offense. In fact, it is the biggest question for the Dodgers offense. Max Muncy is the straw that stirs the Dodgers drink. And less than 2 weeks after coming back, he went back on the IL with a grade 1 oblique strain on his right side. And the Dodgers are hoping and expecting that he comes back this season. But when is that? Late September. How late? How quickly can he get the rhythm back? Is he going to be ready to go for the NLDS? How will he even look at the plate? Because he initially suffered this injury while taking swings. And he was scratched from the lineup. And it was with cage work. So it was cage work before the game. And he was in the lineup. He was scratched. He had the right side soreness. And then it turned out that the MRI showed it was a grade 1 strain. And even though obliques can be tricky, we have gotten positive updates. Today, Dave Roberts said that Muncy's already taking swings off of a tee and that he isn't feeling any discomfort in that oblique. So, yes, it took him a while to heal last year, but this one is not as aggravated. It's not as serious, and he's always been a quicker healer throughout his career. So that's exactly what we wanted to hear about Max Muncy. Last season, he missed 3 months with a right oblique strain. That one was worse. This one isn't as serious, but still, this is what he deals with. And I was almost shocked. I hadn't looked up Max Muncy's numbers in a minute. Max Muncy, after having that awful start, 105 plate appearances without a home run, has a 146 weighted runs created plus in 89 games. That's right up there behind Will Smith and Shohei Ohtani for the team lead. That's actually better than Freddie Freeman's. He's been 46% above league average. 100's league average, he's at 146 when it comes to producing runs. And when he's in there, the Dodgers score runs. From July 3rd all the way to August 3rd, when he was out, the Dodgers, they ranked 30th in runs, 29th in batting average, 28th in OPS. They went 10 and 15 in that stretch. When he came back, he started to score runs again. I mean, they averaged 5.61 runs per game with him in the lineup. And yes, early on when he was struggling, I mean, he took advantage of, okay, Shohei and Mookie and those guys were hot, and you kind of look at it as a whole. But the truth is, when he's in the lineup, this is a better team and a better offense. So if he comes back and he hits and he's healthy, that's huge. I'll throw Kiké Hernández into that bucket, by the way. Kiké began a rehab assignment with AAA Oklahoma City on August 20th, went 2 for 3 with a double. He could come back as early as next Monday against the Cincinnati Reds. Anyone who downplays this, I don't know what you're saying, because Kiké Hernández, he's basically Giancarlo Stanton in the postseason. Why do I say that? Because Kiké Hernández's postseason OPS is 874 with 15 home runs in 86 games. Giancarlo Stanton's regular season OPS is at 874. That's how important he is. And then the last big question is, do you hold off the San Diego Padres? And do you finish with one of the top 2 seeds in the National League? Because if you do that, you have the bye. If you don't, you would set yourself up where you would have to possibly play the Mets in a 3-game series or the Reds in a 3-game series at home, pushes your rotation back. I want to see this team as fresh as possible. So that is the big one there.